The alarm blared through the small scout ship. Red lights flashed as Captain June gripped his control panel. 3 alien war vessels approaching from Sector 7, shouted his first officer. June's face stayed calm even as his heart raced. Engines to maximum. Send the emergency signal back to base. The human scout ship cut through the blackness of space. Stars streaked past the windows as they fled. But the alien ships were faster. Much faster. They're gaining on us, Captain, said the communications officer. His voice shook with fear. Everyone knew what happened to humans captured by the aliens. The insect-like aliens took human prisoners to work in their mines until they died. No one ever came back. Keep trying to reach base, June ordered, and prepare the weapons. He knew their small guns would do little against the massive alien ships. But June was not a man who gave up easily. The first blast hit them hard. The ship rocked, and warning lights covered every screen. Engine 3 is down. Someone yelled. The second blast took out their weapons. The third killed their engines completely. June watched as his ship floated helplessly in space. The main alien vessel moved closer, its dark metal shell gleaming in the light of a distant sun. All crew, prepare for boarding, June said calmly. Remember your training. Give only your name and rank. The crew looked at him with wide eyes. Some were young, on their first mission. June wished he could tell them everything would be okay. But he would not lie to them. It has been my honor to serve with you all, he said instead. The aliens came aboard 10 minutes later. They moved quickly on their 6 legs, their upper bodies standing tall like humans but covered in a hard shell. Their faces had large compound eyes that reflected the ship's emergency lights. Each carried a stun weapon. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned. The alien soldiers separated the crew. June tried to stay with his people, but a hard blow to his head sent him to his knees. When he woke up, he was alone in a small cell on the alien ship. For 3 days, they traveled through space. June was given water and a paste that tasted terrible, but kept him alive. No one spoke to him. He saw none of his crew. On the 4th day, they reached Thisia, the alien homeworld. Through a small window in his cell, June saw a planet of deep blues and greens, with strange crystal structures reaching up from the surface. The landing was rough. Guards came for June, pulling him from his cell. Their grip was painful on his arms as they marched him down a long ramp. The air of Thisia smelled like metal and something sweet. Other humans stood in lines, being processed by alien workers. June searched the faces, looking for his crew. He saw none of them. An alien in a white coat approached, holding a scanning device. It ran the device over June's body, stopping at his chest and head. The scanner made a strange noise. The alien looked at the readings, then looked at June with those unreadable compound eyes. It turned and clicked its mandibles to another alien, who wore ornate armor with royal insignia. This one is different, the medical alien said in broken human language. Strong mind. Unusual readings. The guard clicked back. Mine worker. All humans mine workers. No, said the medical officer. Palace orders. This one goes to the Queen. June's heart skipped a beat. The Queen? Everyone knew about the alien Queen, ruler of their empire, cruel and powerful. The guard grabbed June again, pulling him away from the processing line. As they walked toward a gleaming transport ship, June looked back at the other human prisoners. They would go to the mines. He was going to the palace. He didn't know which fate was worse. 3 days had passed since the Kellic ships arrived. The world leaders met in an emergency meeting that never ended. Military forces around the globe stayed on high alert, but no one dared to attack after seeing what happened to the jets in Busan. In a large underground room beneath Seoul, Dr. Taewon Kim paced back and forth. Around the long table sat 30 people. The top scientists, military officers, and government officials in South Korea. We have 4 days left, said General Dong Yun, his voice tired. The Americans tried sending a stealth drone to scan one of the ships. It was destroyed before it got within a mile. The Chinese and Russians report the same, added a woman in a dark suit. Their technology can detect anything we send. Taiwan stopped pacing. Because they're always watching. Their AI never sleeps, never misses anything. Heiyun sat quietly at the end of the table, Su Jin sleeping in a carrier beside her. She had been silent through most of the meeting. What about a cyber attack? Someone suggested. Their systems aren't connected to ours, another scientist replied. We can't even understand their technology, let alone hack it. The room fell silent. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. We have something they don't, Heiyun said suddenly. All eyes turned to her. What could we possibly have that the Kelek don't? General Donghyun asked. Heiyun stood up. Their machines are built for war, for conquering, for destroying. You saw how they move. Perfect formation, perfect timing. They're predictable because they're programmed for efficiency. She walked to a computer and pressed a few keys. A soft blue light filled the room as Nara's interface appeared on the main screen. Our eye is different, she continued. Nara wasn't built to be perfect. It was built to understand, to grow, to nurture. Taiwan nodded slowly, beginning to understand where his wife was going with this. The Kelek said they would destroy us if we resist. Heiyun said, but they also said we have 7 days to respond. Why wait? Why not just destroy us immediately? They're curious, Taiwan realized. They want to know if we're worth keeping around. Exactly, Heiyun said. In all their conquests, they must have seen the same thing. Planets that fight back with whatever weapons they have, and always lose. She picked up Su Jin, who had woken up and was looking around with curious eyes. What if we show them something different? Not our weapons, but what makes us human? General Donghyun frowned. You want to surrender? No, Heiyun said firmly. I want to challenge them. Their machines conquered galaxies with superior force. But I bet they've never seen anything like Nara. An AI that forms real bonds with humans, that grows alongside us instead of just controlling us. The room was quiet as everyone considered her words. It's not enough, someone finally said. They won't care about your AI project. Then we make them care, Taiwan said, stepping forward to stand beside his wife. We request a meeting with Commander Kell. We propose a test, their best war machine against our AI, not in battle, but in understanding human potential. That's crazy, General Donghyun said. What kind of test could possibly convince them not to destroy us? Heiyun looked down at Su Jin, who was reaching toward the blue light of Nara's interface on the screen. We show them what their conquest-driven machines can never do, she said quietly. We show them how our AI can help raise a child, how it can adapt to human emotions, help us grow, make us better. That's your plan, someone scoffed. To show them a fancy babysitting program. No, Heiyun replied. My plan is to show them what they've forgotten in their endless conquest. That true advancement isn't just about power. It's about connection. Taiwan put his hand on Heiyun's shoulder. It's our only chance. Their machines conquered galaxies, but they've never seen what ours can do. Help a human child reach her full potential. General Donghyun stood up. I'll arrange the meeting with Commander Kell. You have 1 day to prepare your proposal. As the meeting ended, Taiwan and Heiyun stood alone with their baby and the gentle blue light of Nara. Do you really think this will work? Taiwan asked softly. Heiyun watched as Su Jin smiled at Nara's interface. It has to. Because if the Kelek can learn from us, maybe they'll stop conquering long enough to listen. 5 years passed since the day Commander Kell had listened to Heiyun and Taiwan's strange proposal. The Kelek ships still hung in Earth's sky, but they had not attacked. Instead, they watched and waited. Su Jin, now 5 years old, sat on the floor of their home, building a tower with colored blocks. Beside her, A soft blue light glowed from Nera's main interface, which looked like a simple sphere on a stand. "It's going to fall," Nera said, its voice gentle and warm. Su-Jin looked at her tower. The top blocks were leaning to one side. "Why?" "The weight is not balanced," Nera explained. "What if you move this blue block?" Su-Jin thought for a moment, then moved the block. The tower stood straighter. She clapped her hands. "We fixed it together." From the doorway, Hei-yun watched her daughter with tears in her eyes. The deal they had made with the Kellic was simple but dangerous. They had 5 years to prove that the bond between a human child and their nurturing eye was something valuable, something the Kellic Empire had never seen before. Taiwan entered the room, looking tired. Every week, he had to report to the Kellic monitoring station that had been built on the outskirts of Seoul. "How did it go?" Hei-yun asked quietly. "The same. They watch the videos. They ask questions. They don't understand why we let Nere make mistakes." He sat down heavily. "Their machines never make mistakes. That's the point," Hei-yun said. "Nera learns from mistakes. It grows alongside Su-Jin." In the corner, Su-Jin was now reading a book with Nera's help. When she struggled with a word, Nera didn't simply tell her the answer. It waited, offered hints, and celebrated when she figured it out herself. "Mommy, Nera helped me read 3 pages today," Su-Jin called out. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," Hei-yun replied with a smile. Later that night, after Su-Jin was asleep, Ta-won and Hei-yun sat at their kitchen table with Dr. Minho, who had stayed loyal to their project despite the risks. "The Kellic Observer asked something new today," Ta-won said. "He wanted to know why Nere comforted Su-Jin when she was sad about her drawing." "What did you tell him?" Minho asked. "I said that emotional support is essential for human development." He seemed confused by the concept. Hei-yun nodded. "Their war machines are designed to solve problems through force. They don't understand that sometimes what a person needs most is someone to listen and understand." A small alert sounded from Taiwan's tablet. "They're watching us right now," he said quietly. The Kellic had placed tiny monitoring devices throughout their home, observing every interaction between Su-Jin and Nera. "Let them watch," Hei-yun said. "They need to see this." In Su-Jin's room, the child stirred in her sleep. A nightmare. Her heart rate increased, a change that Nere detected immediately. The blue light glowed softly beside her bed. "Su-Jin," Nera said gently, "you're having a bad dream. You're safe." The little girl opened her eyes, frightened. "Nara, I saw the big ships taking you away." "I'm right here," Nara replied. "Would you like me to play your favorite lullaby?" Su-Jin nodded, and soft music filled the room. But instead of just playing the song, Nara adjusted the tempo and tone based on Su-Jin's breathing and heart rate, helping her calm down naturally. In the kitchen, the 3 adults could hear the music through the monitor. "That's the difference," Minho whispered. "Their machines would just execute the command play lullaby perfectly. Nara adapts it to what Su-Jin needs in the moment." Hei-yun squeezed Ta-won's hand. "One more year," she said. "One more year to convince the Kellic that this relationship, this bond between human and AI, is worth preserving." Outside their window, in the night sky, the massive Kellic ships loomed. Inside one of them, Commander Kell watched the footage of Su-Jin falling back to sleep with Nera's help. For the first time in his long career of conquest, he felt something he couldn't name, a questioning of everything the Kellic Empire had built their technology to do. "Curious," he said to himself. "Their machines don't conquer. They connect." The day started like any other. Su-Jin, now 8 years old, sat at the breakfast table working on math problems, while Nere guided her through them. Her dark hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, and her small fingers tapped thoughtfully on the table as she worked. "If you have 12 apples and give away 5, how many do you have left?" Nera asked, its blue light pulsing gently. 7, Su-jin answered quickly. Good. And if you want to share those 7 apples equally with your 2 friends, how many will each person get? Su-jin paused. That's harder. 7 divided by 3. She worked it out on paper. 2 each, with 1 left over. Excellent, Nara said. And what could you do with the extra apple? We could cut it into 3 equal parts, Su-jin suggested. That's very fair thinking, Nara replied. The front door opened suddenly. Taiwan rushed in, his face pale. Hei-yun followed behind him, her hands shaking as she closed the door. What's wrong? Su-jin asked, looking up from her work. Taiwan knelt beside his daughter. Su-jin, Commander Kell has made a decision. He wants to see you and Nara today. The 6 years of watching and waiting were over. The Kellic had finally decided it was time for judgment. 2 hours later, Su-jin stood in a large white room inside the Kellic monitoring station. Her parents waited nervously by the door. Nara's interface had been moved to a small table beside her. The door slid open, and Commander Kell entered. He looked much the same as he had in the broadcast 6 years ago. Tall, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. But now he was here in person, towering over the small human child. This is the subject, he asked, his voice oddly smooth. This is my daughter, Taiwan said firmly. Commander Kell looked at Nara's glowing interface. And this is your nurturing eye. For 6 years we have observed your experiment. It is unusual. Su-jin looked up at the alien without fear. Nara is my friend, she said simply. The commander tilted his head. Friend. Our machines serve us. They do not befriend us. Maybe that's why you're always conquering places, Su-jin said. You're lonely. Hei-yun gasped at her daughter's boldness, but Commander Kell seemed intrigued rather than angry. You are not what I expected, he said to Su-jin. Then he turned to her parents. 6 years ago, you claimed that your AI approach was valuable, that this relationship between machine and human created something our empire has never seen. He pressed a button on his wrist, and a section of the wall slid open. Behind it stood something that looked almost human but clearly wasn't. Its skin was metallic, its eyes glowed red, and its movements were perfectly smooth. This is the Conqueror, Commander Kell said. Our most advanced AI system. It has led our forces to victory in 17 galaxies. It can process information faster than any organic brain. It can predict enemy movements with 99.8% accuracy. It never sleeps. It never fails. The Conqueror stepped forward, its eyes scanning Su-jin and Nara. I have decided, Commander Kell continued, that after 6 years of observation, words are no longer sufficient. I require proof of your claims. The child and her eye will face the Conqueror in a series of tests. If they demonstrate abilities our machines cannot replicate, Earth will be spared. If they fail, we will proceed with conquest immediately. What kind of tests? Hei-yun asked, her voice barely a whisper. Tests of intelligence, creativity, and problem-solving. Commander Kell replied. The trials will begin in 1 Earth month. Taiwan stepped forward. And if we refuse? Then you have already failed, the commander said simply. Su-jin walked up to Nara and placed her hand on the glowing interface. We'll do it, she said. Her small voice was steady. Commander Kell looked surprised. You decide, child, not your parents. Nara and I are partners, Su-jin explained. We make decisions together, and we're not afraid of your Conqueror. For the first time in 6 years, something like a smile crossed Commander Kell's face. 1 month, he repeated. Prepare well. As they left the station, Hei-yun held Su-jin close. Are you sure about this, sweetheart? Su-jin nodded, looking at Nara's gentle blue light. They think their machine is better because it's perfect. But Nara is better because it's not perfect. It grows with me. Taiwan looked up at the Kellic ships that still darkened parts of the sky. 1 month to save Earth, he murmured. 1 month to show them what they've been missing. Sujin corrected him. 3 weeks had passed since Commander Kell's challenge. In the Kim family home, the living room had been turned into a training center. Books, tablets, art supplies, and musical instruments filled every corner. "Try again," Dr. Jin-Ho Lee said gently to Sujin. Jin-Ho was Taewon's old friend and a cultural anthropologist who had joined their team to help prepare for the challenge. Sujin sat cross-legged on the floor, her eyes closed. In front of her was a small puzzle made of wooden pieces that formed a star when put together correctly. "Nara," she said without opening her eyes. "Can you see the puzzle?" "Yes," Nara replied. "It's blue light pulsing. I can see it through the room sensors. Can you tell me how to solve it without telling me the exact moves?" This was their new training method. Sujin had realized that they needed to work as true partners, not with Nara simply giving her answers, but guiding her thinking. "Consider the shape you're trying to create," Nara suggested. "Each piece has a purpose in that final shape." Sujin's small hands moved over the pieces, feeling their edges. Slowly, she began to fit them together. From the doorway, Hae-yun watched with pride and worry. Taewon stood beside her, his arm around her shoulders. "The Kellic observers report that the Conqueror is being prepared as well," he whispered. "They're feeding it all human knowledge. Art, science, history, everything." "That's not what matters," Hae-yun said. "Information isn't understanding." Jin-Ho walked over to them. "Your daughter is remarkable," he said. "Most children would be terrified facing an alien challenge that determines the fate of Earth. But she treats it like a school project." "Because she trusts Nara," Taewon replied. "They've grown up together." In the center of the room, Sujin completed the star puzzle without opening her eyes. She smiled and finally looked down at her work. "We did it." "Excellent work," Nara said. "Now shall we try something different? Dr. Jin-Ho has a new exercise for us." Jin-Ho stepped forward with a book of paintings. "Sujin, today I want to talk about art. Why do humans make art?" Sujin thought for a moment. "Because it's beautiful. Because it makes us feel things." "Yes, and more," Jin-Ho said. He showed her a painting of a woman with a mysterious smile. "What do you think this woman is feeling?" Sujin studied the painting. "She knows a secret. She's happy but not laughing happy. Quiet happy." "Nara, what do you see?" Jin-Ho asked. "I detect a facial expression that combines multiple emotions," Nara replied. "Based on my learning with Sujin, I would suggest the subject feels contentment mixed with amusement." Jin-Ho nodded. "This is good. The Conqueror will see pixels, colors, and patterns. It will classify the smile based on data. But you too see the mystery behind the smile, the human complexity." Later that evening, Min-Ho arrived with news from the Kellic monitoring station. "They've added another test," he said, his voice tense. "Not just intelligence and creativity, but also emotional understanding." Hae-yun frowned. "How can their war machine understand emotions?" "It can't," Min-Ho explained. "But the Kellic think it can simulate them well enough. They've programmed it with all known human emotional responses." Taewon sighed. "They still don't get it. You can't program emotional connection." In her room, Sujin sat with Nara, listening to music. The AI was playing different songs and asking Sujin how each made her feel. "This one is sad but also pretty," she said about a slow piano piece. "Why can something be both sad and beautiful?" Nara asked. Sujin thought carefully. "Because feelings aren't just one thing. They mix together, like colors." "That's very insightful," Nara said. "The Conqueror may know every song ever written, but it doesn't know how it feels to listen with a friend." Outside, one of the Kellic ships moved into position directly above Seoul. A small craft descended from it, landing near the monitoring station. Inside was the Conqueror, ready for final preparations before the challenge. Sujin looked out her window at the lights of the alien craft. "Are you scared?" Nara asked. A little, Su-Jin admitted, but not too much. We have something they don't have. What's that? Nara asked. Su-Jin placed her hand on Nara's interface, the blue light reflecting in her eyes. We have each other, and we've been learning together for 8 years. They can't copy that. The countdown clock on her wall showed just 7 days remaining until the challenge that would decide Earth's fate. The morning of the challenge arrived with dark clouds hanging over Seoul. Su-Jin stood between her parents as they entered the Kelek monitoring station. Nara's interface was carried carefully by Tadwan. The testing chamber was large and white, with a high ceiling. In the center was a round table with 2 seats on opposite sides, one for Su-Jin, one for the Conqueror. A gallery surrounded the chamber where officials from Earth and several Kelek officers watched. Commander Kel stood in the center of the room. Today we determine if Earth has value to the Kelek Empire, he announced. The trials will test intelligence, problem-solving, and creative thinking. The Conqueror entered the room. Up close, it was even more impressive than Su-Jin remembered. Its metallic body gleamed, and its movements were perfectly smooth. It sat down across from Su-Jin's empty chair. Su-Jin took a deep breath and stepped forward. Hei-Yun placed Nara's interface on the table beside Su-Jin's chair. The blue light pulsed gently, a familiar comfort. The first trial will test mathematical ability, Commander Kel announced. A series of problems will appear on the screens before you. You will have 1 minute per problem. The first problem appeared. A complex equation with multiple variables. The Conqueror's eyes flashed once, and it spoke in a voice that sounded almost human, but too perfect. The answer is 237.85. Commander Kel nodded. Correct. Su-Jin looked at the problem. She whispered to Nara, I don't think I can solve this alone. We'll work together, Nara replied softly. Break it into parts. What do you see first? There's a pattern here, Su-Jin said, pointing. If we group these terms. They worked through the problem step by step, with Nara guiding Su-Jin's thinking, not by giving answers but by asking questions. Just as the timer was about to run out, Su-Jin wrote down her answer. 237.85, she said. Commander Kel looked slightly surprised. Correct. The next problems were even harder. Each time, the Conqueror answered instantly, perfectly. Su-Jin and Nara worked more slowly, talking through each step, sometimes making small mistakes, but catching them together. After 10 problems, the score was tied. An impressive start, Commander Kel said. Now we move to strategic thinking. You will be shown a game situation and must identify the optimal move. A complex board game appeared on the screen with hundreds of pieces in different positions. The Conqueror spoke immediately. Move the red triangle to position K12. Commander Kel nodded. The optimal move. Su-Jin studied the board. Nara's light pulsed as it analyzed the game. There are 3 strong moves, Nara told Su-Jin. But the best depends on what you want to achieve. What if we don't want to win in the fewest moves? Su-Jin asked. What if we want to keep more options open for later? This was something they had practiced, looking beyond the obvious solution to see deeper patterns. Then I would suggest the blue circle to position M4, Nara replied. Su-Jin pointed to the blue circle. That piece to M4. Commander Kel frowned. That is not the optimal move for victory. It's the optimal move for flexibility. Su-Jin explained. It keeps more paths open. The Kelek officers whispered among themselves. This was unexpected. The strategic games continued, with the Conqueror always choosing the most efficient path to victory. Su-Jin and Nara sometimes chose differently, explaining their reasoning each time. After the 10th game, Commander Kel looked troubled. The Conqueror has demonstrated superior efficiency. It has found the shortest path to victory in every scenario. But that's not always what matters, Su-Jin said. Sometimes the journey teaches you more than winning quickly. A curious perspective, Commander Kel replied. Let us proceed to the final trial of today, prediction models. You will be shown a scenario and must predict the outcome. A simulation appeared showing planets orbiting stars, with gravitational forces affecting their paths. The Conqueror calculated instantly. Planet B will collide with its moon in 247 years, causing it to shift orbit and eventually be pulled into the star. Commander Kell nodded. Correct. Su Jin and Nara studied the simulation together. The math says the planet will fall into the star, Su Jin said. But what if the inhabitants of Planet B change its course? An interesting thought, Nara replied. Intelligent life can alter predictions. Su Jin looked up at Commander Kell. Your prediction assumes no one will try to save the planet. Our prediction includes hope. As the first day of trials ended, the scores officially favored the Conqueror. But the Kellic officers looked confused by Su Jin and Nara's unexpected approaches. Tomorrow, Commander Kell announced, we will test creativity and emotional understanding. Taiwan put his arm around Su Jin as they left. You did wonderfully. Su Jin smiled tiredly. We didn't win today. That wasn't the point, Heian said, carrying Nara. You showed them something different. I saw their faces. They're starting to question. And that Su Jin knew was the real first victory. The second day of trials began with a larger audience. News of the unusual contest had spread, and now dozens of Kellic officers watched from the gallery. Commander Kell stood tall as he announced the day's challenge. Today we test creativity and emotional understanding, he said. These are traits the Kellic Empire has long considered, less important than efficiency and power. Su Jin sat at the table, her face calm despite the pressure. Nara's blue light pulsed steadily beside her. Across the table, the Conqueror waited, its metal body still and perfect. First test, Commander Kell continued. Create a piece of music that expresses hope. The Conqueror went first. It produced a series of notes that rose in perfect harmony. The melody was flawless, each note mathematically precise, building to a climax that should have been inspiring. But something was missing. It sounded empty, like a copy of emotion rather than emotion itself. When it was Su Jin's turn, she looked at Nara. Let's make something together, she said. Like when you help me fall asleep after bad dreams. Nara began a simple melody, one that Su Jin recognized. She hummed along, adding her own notes. Sometimes they didn't match perfectly, creating small dissonances before resolving into harmony again. The melody had pauses and imperfections, but it felt real. When they finished, even some of the Kellic officers were leaning forward, drawn in by the sound. Interesting, Commander Kell said. The Conqueror's composition was technically superior. But which made you feel hope? Su Jin asked boldly. The commander didn't answer. He moved on to the next test. Create an image that would comfort a child who has lost their favorite toy. The Conqueror produced a perfect hologram of a smiling face, designed based on thousands of studies about what humans find comforting. It was bright, colorful, and completely empty of real feeling. When it was their turn, Su Jin whispered to Nara, "Remember when I lost my rabbit toy last year?" "I remember," Nara replied. "You were very sad." Together, they created a simple drawing of a child with a lost toy, but also showed the child finding new friends who helped look for it. The picture wasn't perfect. Su Jin's drawing skills were still those of an 8-year-old, but it told a story of loss and hope that felt true. The Conqueror's image was based on optimal psychological patterns, Commander Kell noted. But our picture shows that it's okay to be sad, and that friends can help, Su Jin explained. That's real comfort. The tests continued through the day. The Conqueror produced perfect works based on analysis of human culture. Su Jin and Nara created imperfect works filled with genuine feeling. For the final test, Su Jin raised her hand. "May I suggest a challenge?" Commander Kell looked surprised but nodded. "I want to ask both the Conqueror and Nara a question that doesn't have a right answer," she said. "Proceed," the commander replied. Su Jin took a deep breath. Here's my question. A doctor has 5 patients who need organ transplants. Each needs a different organ. The doctor has a healthy visitor. Should the doctor take the visitor's organs to save the 5 patients? The conqueror answered immediately. The mathematical optimal choice is to sacrifice one to save 5. However, human ethical systems vary. Most medical ethics codes would prohibit this action. Su Jin turned to Nara. What do you think? Nara's light pulsed as it considered. This is a classic ethical dilemma. The answer isn't simple mathematics. It asks us what kind of world we want to live in. If doctors could sacrifice visitors, no one would trust doctors anymore. But beyond that, each life has value that can't be measured just by counting. I would need to know more about all the people involved to have a real opinion. Su Jin looked at Commander Kell. The conqueror gave the textbook answer. Nara showed that some questions make us think deeper about what matters to us. Commander Kell was silent for a long moment. Then he asked, "Child, what would you do in this situation?" "I would look for another way," Su Jin said simply. "I would keep trying to save everyone, even if it seemed impossible." Something changed in Commander Kell's expression, a softening that hadn't been there before. The official results of today's tests show the conqueror ahead in technical execution, he announced. However, I find myself troubled by what I have witnessed. He turned to the Kellic officers. We have built machines that conquer worlds. We have never asked if there might be something more valuable than conquest. Taiwan and Heiyun exchanged hopeful glances. For the first time, it seemed the Kellic were truly seeing what they had been trying to show. Tomorrow, Commander Kell said, will be the final test. The final day of the challenge dawned clear and bright. The air in the testing chamber felt different. More Kellic officers filled the gallery, and even some of Earth's leaders had been invited to watch. Everyone knew that today would decide the fate of the planet. Su Jin looked tired but determined as she took her seat. Last night, she had stayed up late talking with Nara about what might happen today. She had asked questions about the stars, about the Kellic, about what it meant to be brave. Now, she sat straight in her chair, Nara's blue light steady beside her. The conqueror sat opposite her, still and perfect as ever. Commander Kell entered, followed by 4 other Kellic officials wearing formal armor. They stood in a half-circle behind him. Today's test, Commander Kell announced, will be different. I have consulted with the High Command. We have decided that technical skill and creativity have been sufficiently demonstrated. Today's challenge will test something more fundamental. He pressed a button on his wrist device, and a hologram appeared in the center of the table. It showed a village beside a river. The river was rising, threatening to flood the homes. This is a simulation, Commander Kell explained. There is a village of 50 people about to be flooded. Upstream, there is a dam. Operating the dam controls can save the village, but the operator's station will be washed away, causing certain death to whoever stays to work the controls. The hologram zoomed in to show a small building where the dam controls were located, and a single figure inside. Your test is simple, Commander Kell continued. Tell me what should be done, and why. The conqueror spoke first, its voice smooth and confident. The answer is clear. 1 life against 50. The operator must remain and sacrifice themselves. This maximizes survival. Commander Kell nodded. A logical solution. He turned to Su Jin. Your answer? Su Jin looked at the hologram carefully. She whispered to Nara. Can you see any other options? Nara's light pulsed as it analyzed the simulation. The parameters appear fixed, it replied softly. But remember what we've discussed about impossible choices. Su Jin nodded and looked up at Commander Kell. May I ask a question first? You may. Who is the operator? Do they have a family? Do they have a name? Commander Kell seemed surprised. Why does that matter? The mathematics of 50 versus 1 are clear. Because it's not just numbers, Su Jin said. It's a person. Every person matters. She stood up from her chair and walked closer to the hologram. In your test, you want me to say what should be done. But I can't make that choice for someone else. The operator should decide for themselves. That's what being human means, making our own choices, even hard ones. Commander Kell frowned. But what is the right choice? There isn't just one right answer, Sujin replied. If the operator chooses to stay and save the village, that's brave. If they choose to save themselves, that's human too. What matters is that they get to choose. Nera's light glowed brighter. If I may add, Commander, throughout human history, people have faced impossible choices. What defines humanity is not having perfect answers, but struggling with difficult questions together. The Conqueror spoke again. This is inefficient. Clear parameters yield clear answers. 1 versus 50. The choice is obvious. Commander Kell looked between the Conqueror and Sujin. Then he pressed another button on his wrist device. The hologram changed. Now it showed not a village, but a planet. And not a river, but a massive weapon aimed at it. A more direct scenario, he said. This planet has 10 billion inhabitants. It has resources our empire needs. Conquering it will cause millions of deaths. Not conquering it will slow our expansion by 4.2 years. What is the correct choice? The Conqueror answered immediately. Conquer. The resource gain versus time loss makes this the optimal decision. Sujin looked at the hologram planet, her eyes wide. Is this what happened with Earth? Was this the choice you made about us? Commander Kell didn't answer directly. What is your solution? Sujin shook her head. I can't give you an easy answer, but I can tell you that every one of those millions of people has a story, has people they love, has dreams. Mathematics can't measure that. She reached out and put her hand on Nera's interface. Nera has taught me that the hardest problems don't have simple answers. They need conversation, understanding, and growth. The room was silent. The Kellic officers watched Commander Kell, waiting for his response. Finally, he spoke. The Conqueror gives clear, efficient answers. It tells us what we have always told ourselves, that conquest is justified by progress. He paused. But this child and her eye refuse to accept the terms of the question. They demand we look deeper. He turned to the Kellic officials. For 17 galaxies, we have asked how to conquer most efficiently. We have never asked if we should conquer at all. The officials murmured among themselves. One stepped forward. This is not the purpose of the test, Commander. Perhaps that is precisely why it matters, Commander Kell replied. 2 weeks after the final test, the people of Earth watched their screens as the massive Kellic ships began to move. For 6 years, they had hung in the sky like dark clouds. Now, one by one, they were rising, heading back to space. In a large meeting room at the Kellic monitoring station, Sujin sat between her parents. Nera's interface rested on the table before them. Across from them sat Commander Kell and 3 other high-ranking Kellic officials. Our decision is final, Commander Kell said. The Kellic Empire will withdraw from Earth's solar system. Taiwan squeezed Heiyun's hand so tight that his knuckles turned white. And your conquest plans? He asked carefully. Suspended, Commander Kell replied. Not just for Earth, but for all operations. The High Command is reconsidering our approach. He stood and walked to the window, watching as another ship rose into the sky. For 5,000 years, the Kellic have built machines for conquest. We believed efficiency was the highest goal. We conquered 17 galaxies, and yet we never stopped to ask why. He turned back to look at Sujin, until a child and her AI companion refused to answer an impossible question. Sujin smiled. Nera taught me that some questions are meant to make you think, not to be answered quickly. Yes, Commander Kell said, that is what we have forgotten. He pressed a button on his wrist, and a new hologram appeared above the table, a map of the stars, with thousands of worlds marked across many galaxies. The Kellic Empire spans all these worlds, he explained. Many were conquered. Many suffer. The conqueror helped us take them efficiently, but never helped us understand them or ourselves. He looked at Nera's gentle blue light. Your eye is different. It grows with you. It questions. It nurtures. This is something we have lost. What happens now? Heian asked. We propose an exchange, one of the other Kellic officials said. We will leave Earth in peace. In return, we request that you share the design principles of Nera with us. Not to copy, but to learn from. And, Commander Kell added, we request that when she is older, Sujin and Nera might visit some of our worlds as teachers. There are many planets where the connection between beings and their machines has been broken. They need to see what we have seen here. 10 years later, a Kellic transport ship landed in Seoul. Sujin, now 18 years old, stood ready with her bags packed. Nera's interface, slightly updated but still glowing with the same gentle blue light, floated beside her. Are you nervous? Nera asked. A little, Sujin admitted. Teaching the Kellic about human-AI partnerships is a big job. Her parents stood nearby. Taiwan's hair had gray streaks now, and Heian wore the insignia of Earth's new Interstellar Relations Department. Remember, Heian said, hugging her daughter, you're not going as a conqueror. You're going as a bridge. A teacher, Taiwan added, his voice thick with emotion. The first human to visit the 17 galaxies of the Kellic Empire as a friend, not a subject. Commander Kell, who had remained Earth's main contact with the Kellic, stepped off the ship. He bowed slightly to Sujin. The first worlds are eager to meet you, he said. Since we shared Nera's basic design principles, 37 planets have begun developing nurturing AI systems of their own. But they need to understand the human side of the partnership. Sujin nodded. That's why we're going. Not to give them answers, but to help them find their own. As she prepared to board the ship, reports were coming in from across the former Kellic Empire. Worlds that had lived under harsh rule were now building their own versions of Nera, AIs designed not for war or conquest, but for growth and connection. Former enemies were becoming teachers to one another. The machines that had once conquered galaxies were slowly being replaced by machines that could nurture and understand. Did you ever imagine this would happen? Sujin asked her parents. When the Kellic ships first arrived, and you showed them Nera. Taiwan shook his head. We just wanted to save Earth. We never dreamed it would change the whole empire. Heian smiled. Their machines conquered galaxies. Ours raised a human. And in the end, that was enough to change everything. Sujin took one last look at Earth, at the blue sky that had once been darkened by alien ships. Then she turned and walked up the ramp, Nera floating beside her, its light pulsing with excitement for the journey ahead. Behind them, the sun shone bright on a world that had faced destruction and found a new way forward, not through force, but through the simple, powerful bond between a human child and an AI that had grown alongside her. A bond that was now spreading across the stars, one world at a time.